Hey guys, it's Daze
and Esper,
and we're gonna teach you how to make this awesome Timo and Totoro fuzzy warm blanket.
it's good for gaming.
Good for gaming.
And
Yes.
So what I did is I actually selected 2 yards of blue checkered fleece and 2 yards of black fleece, and what you need to do is actually lay them both absolutely flat on the ground on top of each other. Once you have them perfectly flat on top of each other on the ground, you are actually going to take a pair of scissors and start making your cuts into both sides of the fabric at the same time. So you're going to make your cuts about 1 to 1.5 inches apart and about 3 to 4 inches down on the fabric. The further down, the bigger the ties, the shorter cuts, the smaller the ties. So depending on the look you want, you can adjust it. Once you've cut across on one side of the fleece, you are actually going to cut a 4-inch square on the corner. Once you made your 4-inch cut on the square, you're going to start tying the 2 sides of the blanket together, and I would recommend double knotting it so it does not come apart. Don't tie it too tight, as it will create a pulling effect on the blanket. The next step is actually getting your roommate to help you make cuts along the blanket so you guys can both conquer the cutting and tying much faster. So once you have finished making all of your incisions and tying them all around the entire blanket, the next step is to definitely lie down and test it out. Thank you, Esper, for that.
Once you selected the characters that you want to add to your blanket, you will need to go to the store and get fleece square so you can create the characters. What I usually do is I actually hand draw the character on a piece of paper and I cut it out and then trace it onto the fleece pieces. If you are not talented at drawing, much like myself, I would recommend tracing the characters. Once I'm done cutting out the character from the paper, I actually tape it to the fleece and cut around it. Once you've completed all of your cutouts, you can go ahead and either sew them together, or if you're lazy like myself, you can actually get a permanent fabric adhesive and use that to stick them together. You're going to want to put a decent amount of fabric adhesive onto each piece of fabric to make sure it sticks well. Now keep in mind, this fabric adhesive needs to dry, so you don't want to wash it for at least 7 to 10 days after you put it on there. So once you have glued the characters together and have let that sit for a few hours to dry, you're going to then glue it onto the blanket. As I mentioned, you can also sew them onto the blanket. And voila, you can see the beautiful finished product.